Coming up on this episode, could it actually happen? Could the Golden State Warriors turn their Giannis Antetokounmpo dream into reality in the next 8 days? I'll discuss the chances of them pulling off such a move in the wake of Antetokounmpo's trade request, or whatever Shams wants to call it. Welcome back to the Golden State with Mates podcast. I've woken up here in Australia this morning to a Giannis trade request. Let's just call it what it is. We can try and frame it and term it in all kinds of different ways. It's a bloody trade request. All right. He wants out of the Milwaukee Bucks. I've been saying since I watched him play against the Denver Nuggets where he injured his calf in the final minute of that game last Friday, US time, I think it was. That dude don't want to play there anymore. He just doesn't. He looked like a guy who had no interest in being on that team for much longer. The Warriors quickly emerging as a potential contender for Giannis. And I would like to think so. And I would want to hope so. Because they have been waiting for this moment for 7 years. Dead set 7 years. There's been articles and reports since 2019 on the Warriors' interest in Giannis Antetokounmpo. So, when ESPN's Brian Windhorst goes on NBA Today a couple of hours ago and says that everyone's going to have to beat Golden State's offer and that the Warriors have one of the best packages, blah, 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 whatever, I would sure hope so. You've been hoarding first-round picks since 2019 for this very moment. It is incredibly ironic, though, and it's downright hilarious. You just got to laugh at it. The Warriors have been waiting for this for nearly 7 years, right? That's 6+ years. And then an Antetokounmpo trade request comes a week after Golden State's season is effectively ruined, right? Just goes to crap with Jimmy Butler's season-ending torn ACL. The irony in the fact that their season still is effectively ruined, but now there's this miraculous exit door that could change everything has popped up that they've been waiting for damn near 7 years, and now it's come just when things appeared all over. I don't know, but here we are. I've been saying it since the Jimmy injury. The only chance this team has of having any relevance this season is a Giannis trade. I don't even think Trey Murphy the third. If the Warriors just flip Kuminga for Kuminga and picks and maybe pods, whatever else, for Trey Murphy, I don't even think Trey Murphy's the caliber of player that he would be able to make this Warrior team some kind of contender while Jimmy Butler was on the sidelines. Maybe they raise their ceiling to being, winning one playoff series or something like that. But I don't think he would do it. Giannis is the only guy where it's you pair him with Steph, whatever else you got left over, now you got a shot. Now you got a shot in the Western Conference. Time is now for Golden State. It's not in the off-season. Not in the off-season. Do not wait around. This is the time for multiple reasons. First of all, you got Steph freaking Curry. He's about to be 38 years old. Who knows how much longer Steph has at an elite level? Could be another couple of years. Dude's that good, right? Could be. But do we want to bank on that? No. We want to try and make the most of every playoff year that Steph Curry has left. Do we really want to be going into next season, even if you traded for Giannis in the offseason, by the time the playoffs next year roll around, Steph Curry's going to be 39 years old? Do we really want that? Ideally not. Okay? Obviously, if you get Giannis in the offseason, that's still great. But you want to do it now. You want to try and maximize Steph as much as possible, obviously. Secondly, I think the Warriors, I just finished up recording a podcast episode on the Patreon where I kind of looked at this more generally and listed the teams that I think are a genuine chance at Giannis. And I would say I've got the Warriors as one of three teams. I think Miami are right there. I think New York have to be part of the conversation because that's the one team we know Giannis has interest in going to. and then it's the Warriors. And I think it's those three teams right now. Now, could more teams come to the table in the offseason when they're going to have more assets to play with and stuff like that? Yes. But that's not going to help Milwaukee if Giannis says, I only want to go to New York. Okay? Because then those other teams, aren't going to be willing to give up assets for Giannis if they think he's going to leave in a year in free agency. So Golden State's best hope is now. And you know what? I was just reading like Tim Kawakami's article on the San Francisco Standard, and I love Tim's work. Great. I couldn't disagree with him more. First of all, he says like it's a very slim, unlikely chance. And is it still unlikely? Yes. But there's a pretty clear pathway here. Like it's not the Warriors. They don't have to jump over a bunch of hurdles to make this thing happen. It's a pretty clear. I'll get into what the trade would look like in a second, but it's pretty crystal clear. It ain't difficult. It's just whether Milwaukee want to do it or not, or if they want to wait for the offseason, or if they get something better. Pretty simple, right? And Kawakami went on and basically said in his article, like, well, the Warriors' best hope, and really only hope, is if Giannis points to them and says, yeah, I want to go to the Warriors as one of, maybe it's them and the Knicks kind of thing. And, they're better positioned than the Knicks maybe. So, Giannis gets the Warriors. Not really the case. I don't think now it would be incredibly beneficial if Giannis gives the Warriors some assurance that he would re-sign. Absolutely. Okay. There is a chance that if Giannis doesn't give that assurance, that the Warriors don't make a trade. But I'll tell you for damn sure, if he doesn't give them an assurance, there is no way they're trading for him in the offseason. You are not giving up 4 firsts and a couple of first-round pick swaps for 1 year of Giannis. Now, you're probably not doing that for 2 years of Giannis either. But if you're getting 2 seasons of Giannis Antetokounmpo playoff runs, this season and next, before he could potentially leave in free agency, which you'd hope you could convince him otherwise anyway. But if you get 2 playoff runs, suddenly you start thinking to yourself, maybe we're not giving up 4 firsts and the pick swaps, but we're probably giving up something pretty reasonable still. And maybe Milwaukee still budget that because they're like, well, this is better than what we're going to get from New York in the offseason if Giannis tells us that New York's the only place he wants to go and tells every other team to piss off. And that I'm going to leave in free agency anyway. So to me, it's not super critical that Giannis says he wants to go to the Warriors and he's truly unbelievably happy on going to the Warriors. Saw this time last year, Jimmy Butler didn't want to go to the Warriors. Turned out great. Until the injury, obviously. Okay. The KD situation is kind of similar where KD, and this is exactly right, Phoenix went behind KD's back, essentially, and wanted to trade him 12 months ago before the deadline. Why did they want to do that? Because they saw the writing on the wall. They said, KD's got no future here. And if we wait till the offseason, he's going to be on an expiring contract. He's going to point to where he wants to go, and we're going to get sweet bugger all back for him. So they got out in front of it, even without KD's knowledge, essentially, and try to shop him, had a deal lined up with the Warriors. And then KD, he's wind of it, is like, whoa, no, I'm not doing that. No chance. I want to forge my own path. I want control of where I'm going. Okay. Now, is Giannis going to have some control on where he's going? Yes. He's a superstar player, top 3 player in the world. He's going to have some say. Okay. He's not going to have complete say, I don't think, like he will in the offseason. Because I still think now Milwaukee are going to try and make the best deal for themselves. Again, knowing that if we reach the offseason, Giannis is on expiring, teams aren't going to give up a bunch of assets for a superstar player who's telling them that he's going to leave in a year's time. They just aren't going to do that. Okay? So I think I actually think there's a genuine chance he gets traded in the next 8 days because I think it's in Milwaukee's best interest to try and make the most of a return now. Okay? And again, if you're the Warriors, you don't get an assurance from Giannis, you might not make the trade, but you're definitely not making the trade in the offseason, if that's the case. So you got to do it now. And I'm looking at this. You got Steph Curry right there. You got this Jimmy Butler injury piece, which now gives you the contract, pretty clear contract. You got the picks. They've been waiting 7 damn years for this moment. You better make the most of it. You better make the most of it if you're the Warriors. Okay, they've got all their picks, all their 4 future firsts, one of which is top 20 protected. For conveys between 21 and 30 goes to Washington, but you can still give like the 1 to 20 protection to Milwaukee if you need to. You've got 3 first-round pick swaps, but I think the Bucks don't own a pick in 29 or something like that, so you can't actually swap first-round picks with a team that doesn't have a first-round pick in that year. So it's like 4 firsts, 2 pick swaps. And I've spoken about already, are you giving absolutely everything up for Giannis? I think you're going to have to. That's the point. It doesn't matter. We can argue whether or not, Giannis he suffered like 2 or 3 soft tissue injuries this season. Is he really going to be an elite player in 4 or 5 years' time? We can have the argument, right? Could this turn out? Could the Bucks get some kind of return that ends up like Paul George and the Oklahoma City Thunder, where they actually fleece a team, okay? And the Warriors get maybe a couple of good years out of Giannis, but they don't win a championship, and all of a sudden in 2028 and 2030, 2032, they're giving up like top 3, top 5 picks to the Bucks. Right? Could that happen? Yeah, maybe. Could the Bucks fleece another team? Maybe. A little bit different with Giannis is not Paul George. Paul George was a very very good player. Star level player. Was really good in Oklahoma City. But he's not Giannis. He wasn't Giannis. Like this dude, yes, injury troubles and stuff like that. This dude's still a top handful player in the league. Right? I don't think anyone ever argued that Paul George was like a top 3 player in the world. Okay. Which you can make the argument about Giannis for. So I don't think that's the case. I also don't think, let's say the Warriors traded for Giannis. Who's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in this scenario? Who's the young player that becomes a likely 2-time MVP? Look, Pods, you are who you are. I don't think you're becoming Shai. JK, you still got aspirations to become a star. You ain't become a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So it's a little bit, we would have said the same about Shai at the time. To be fair, we wouldn't have looked at him as a 2-time MVP. But I think we get a pretty clear indication of what the Warriors young guys are at this point. So what does the deal look like? Again, it's pretty straightforward, right? Now, Miami could put I think it's really interesting. Miami could put through a trade where Milwaukee get better players in the short term. They get like Tyler Hero and Andrew Wiggins, which can obviously do more for them than like Jimmy Butler can in the next 12 months. They're probably like their young guys, Kalel Ware, Yakachunas, Hackers, whatever else, are probably more valuable than like Kuminga and Pods, probably. Although they're not, at the same time, they're not like those guys aren't blue chip young prospects necessarily. And then the Heat have a couple of picks they can offer. But the Warriors have a better pick-based package than Miami. There's no doubt about that. And then the Knicks conversation is fairly complicated, and to me, maybe too complicated to get done in the next 8 days. Might be an off-season thing. The Golden State trade it's pretty clear. So there's going to be people that argue that Draymond should be in the trade and you should actually try and keep Jimmy. And that's actually a fair argument. Okay, I can understand why. I just don't think the Warriors are going to see it that way. I don't think the Warriors are going to be like, yeah, let's trade for Giannis, but we're going to keep Jimmy and wait for him to come back in 12 months. We're going to trade Draymond, Kuminga, Buddy Hield, and all the picks for Giannis' eighth brother. Okay, that is one framework, right? That does work, but I don't see the Warriors doing that. Because I think part of trading for Giannis, as I've said before, is maximizing the rest of this season. And we can say that Jimmy Butler is an infinitely better player than Draymond Green, but who's the better player for the rest of this season? It's Draymond Green, quite clearly. We can argue that the fit between Draymond and Giannis makes no sense. Okay, and I'm all for trying to explore a trade that sends Draymond elsewhere and you get back, I don't know, a better quality stretch big. Maybe you're trying to get Miles Turner from the Bucks, right, as part of the trade. I don't think it will happen. More of that in a sec. But maybe you're sending Draymond out for another front court player and a better, Giannis has played alongside Brook Lopez, now Miles Turner, another stretch big, of which the Warriors already have in Al Horford and Quentin Post. But obviously, if you could upgrade and find another to be like your starting center, that would be more preferable. But otherwise, the trade is Jimmy, Kuminga, who the Bucks have reportedly had some interest in the past. Then probably another contract, like it's one of Pods or Moody, or if you got real lucky, it's like GP2. Okay. But it's probably going to have to be like Pods, I suppose. I mean, for the sake of the argument, I'm putting Pods in. Then it's all the picks. Now, if you're putting Pods in, do you have to put in all 4 first and 2 first-round pick swaps? Maybe you do to get the Bucks to budge. Maybe you do, right? But that's what it is, okay? Jimmy, Kuminga, Pods, all the picks, and you're getting back Giannis. You're getting back Thanasis, his brother. It's just a 2-for-1 package. They have to come together. Okay, it's like if LeBron gets moved, Bronny's going with it. Let's be honest. And it's Kuzma. You got to pay the tax. Part of the value is we take Kuzma back, which in fairness, I don't love Kyle Kuzma. Okay, I don't think Kyle Kuzma is a Warrior-style player. Do I think Kuzma's better than probably what he's shown in Milwaukee? Yes. Do I think he could be an 8th man for you in a rotation? Yeah, probably. Not ideal for a guy making $22 million a year, but we've just had Kuminga have 16 straight DMPs making that money, so who really cares? And we're getting Giannis, right? Maybe Giannis and Steph rest tonight, and Kyle Kuzma, you can say, Kyle, this is your time. That game we just played second night of a back-to-back in Minnesota, that was Kyle Kuzma's time right there to drop 40. Maybe you do that, okay? So that's the tax you got to pay. I'm willing to do it. Any team should be willing to do it. Take on Kyle Kuzma if it means getting Giannis. Any team should be willing to take on Thanasis if it means getting Giannis. That's the trade. Pretty clear. Like it's not very complicated to me. It's like, this is the deal. Maybe we haggle over some picks, whatever. But like Milwaukee, do you want to do it or not? Because we can't really offer much more. This is what we got. If you get a better deal, cool, do that. Because, we can't do anything more. We're going all out here. This is what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting 6+ years to go all out for Giannis. Here's what we've got. Take it or leave it. Again, get a better deal elsewhere, cool. Wait till the offseason, well, bit risky. Could tell you he just wants to go to the Knicks, and then you're left with, okay, cool, we get Cat, who's making $200 million over the next 4 years and not really doing too much for us. Okay? So it's up to the Bucks, essentially. The Warriors will put forward what they put forward, I think. And then the Bucks will be determined on whether they get something better or whether they want to wait till the offseason. What would it mean if the Warriors traded for Giannis? You'd have to... The biggest issue in the short term is obviously holding the fort until Giannis returns, because now he's got this calf strain, which is a little bit nervy because on one hand, I'm saying you want to maximize this season, you want to maximize this playoff run for Steph. At the same time, you don't want to rush Giannis back and then he tears his Achilles and he's out for 12 months. It's like, whoa, what have we done? Okay, so you got to be careful about it. But what does it mean in terms of like, let's get to the playoffs. Giannis is back healthy, looking all right. You're going to have Steph. So in regard to the trade I just laid out, you're going to have Steph. You're going to have Melton. You're going to have Moody. You're going to have Giannis. Or you're going to have Draymond and you're going to have Giannis. That's going to be, that'd I assume be the starting 5 come playoff time. Maybe Melton's off of minutes restriction. Get him out there in the starting role. And then off the bench, Horford playing big minutes. I'm already salivating. I'm already having wet dreams over a Giannis Horford front court. Just would be perfect, I think. Absolute dream on both ends. Seriously. You have Quentin Post. Again, not the worst fit next to Giannis. You'd have Kuzma, right? Again, play a bit for you. Buddy Hield. Or can we move Buddy in a different trade? Maybe he's still there. Will Richard, G. Santos, TJD, GPT. It gets pretty slim once you get past 8 or 9. It's pretty slim after that. But that's kind of part of the deal, right? Maybe, I don't know, maybe you throw Buddy Hield in and you also try and get back Gary Trent, or like, is Torian Prince out for the season? I don't know. Man, get Ryan Rollins back or something. I don't know. Maybe you try and get another rotation piece. Maybe, again, we're talking about trading Draymond after a potential Giannis trade. If he's not part of it, trading Draymond for another piece. Well, maybe you've got Buddy Hield's salaries there at $9.1 million. Now, this is the issue, is if you give up all your first-round picks for Giannis, then you're going to have no draft capital, and who's taking on Buddy Hield, right, without getting some kind of incentivization through draft picks. The Warriors, by the way, I think they only have one, maybe two, but I think it's only one second-round pick. So it's not like they can attach a heap of second-round picks for Buddy Hield to get a rotation upgrade. But that piece is going to be there. Maybe you can somehow get something better, which gives you a solid 8 or 9 man rotation. Now, does this team catapult you to the top of the West? Maybe not. I genuinely I think a lot of analysts would look at it and say, yeah, now they're the third best team in the West, but they're not OKC or Denver. They're not over them yet, but they might have a shot. And that's why I think, are you going to go all in with 4 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps for a shot at a title? It's not an assurance. It's a shot, a chance at a title. Again, I think it's good enough. I think a 7-man rotation where, again, it's maybe you try and keep pods out of it, okay? Maybe it's I'm giving up Jimmy, Kuminga, GP2, and all the picks, and I'm getting back Giannis, Kuzma, and Thanasis. Okay, maybe it's that. And then all of a sudden, I've got, again, Steph, Melton, Moody, Giannis, Draymond, Horford, Pods, Kuzma. That's for an 8-man rotation in the playoffs, cool. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good 8-man rotation. Could it beat OKC or Denver? It could. I'm not saying it would, but it could. And so I think that's just giving Steph that chance is probably good enough. The problem is, with Giannis out, Steph's going to carry a pretty heavy burden regardless if there's a Giannis trade or not. Steph's going to carry a pretty heavy burden for at least the next month, 6 weeks, until Giannis potentially comes back. And can he, one, carry the Warriors enough to the point where they're still around the playing mix and still look like a strong or a good enough chance of making the playoffs, obviously, by the time Giannis returns? And secondly, is he still going to be physically good enough in the playoffs? Or are you just going to wear him out? Him and Draymond are going to be stuffed by playoff time in a kind of similar way that they were last season. And then it's well, we did all this effort and put in all this work to get to the playoffs, and now Giannis is back. Cool, great. But the other two guys, Steph and Draymond, are cooked. I don't know. These are all things to think of. And they're all things to, I suppose, discuss if and when a Giannis trade happens. Okay, this is all purely hypotheticals until the trade actually takes place. So, anyway, quick episode, guys. Let me know what you think. What are you putting the chances at? Giannis trade to the Warriors. This, obviously, report from Shams in the last 6, 7, 8 hours, whatever it's been, I think drastically. I was on the fence of, in recent days, I was still probably on the side of a trade is unlikely before the deadline. Now with this report, I'm probably more likely than not, again, for the reasons from a Milwaukee standpoint that I laid out before. But a Giannis-specific trade to the Warriors, I don't know, 20% chance? That's what I'm putting it as. Let me know what you guys think. What percentage chance of a Giannis trade to the Warriors are you giving me? All righty. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel already, that'd be greatly appreciated. You can follow me at POC252. That's POK252 on X/Twitter. Check out the Golden State with Mates Patreon if you haven't already for more great content. You can follow on Instagram and TikTok as well at Golden State with Mates. Going to finish up there. Obviously, if we've got any more breaking news in regard to Giannis or whatnot, I've got to get Stevie on to get his thoughts on this. He's already been in the DMs messaging me already about all these different trade hypotheticals. We'll do that. I don't know. I'm going to message him, see if we get that done in the next 24, 48 hours. Plenty to speak about in the wake of this blockbuster Giannis report. Thanks again, guys.